Here's your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, the franchise guide.
When we talk about being married, and you think about it, like making a decision of anything. Do you really make that many big decisions with your spouse? Of course not. So, like, why would it be the difference with a franchise? I actually think when people are looking at a franchise and they know their spouse usually is involved in decisions and they don't include them, it's kind of a way to kind of subconsciously give themselves a way out,
Right.
right? It's like, oh, well, my spouse isn't on board. Well, you didn't bring them into the whole process.
Right.
Of course, they're not on board. I wouldn't be either. Which is interesting. I think it's challenging though, right? Because I think there's a lot of people that they think, let me get the information first and then
Right.
bring my spouse. The other thing I've noticed is I think in the case of someone when they're the breadwinner their entire life, whoever in the relationship is the breadwinner their entire life, I think that's a little bit of a different situation where it's like, look, like you trusted me to provide for all this time. You're gonna have to, like you said, you have to bet on me here
Right.
too. And this is the move I have to make.
But maybe they just don't want to do it because honestly, like they might not be that into it if they're not really sharing it with their spouse. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they're like not all in yet. Like I'm definitely doing this. They're more testing the waters before they bring them into the conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to understand is like if you want to, get in shape or lose weight, you have to go through pain to get there, right? If you want to make a business, successful, you have to go through sacrifice. And so you're going to have to, like you said, get your spouse involved because they have to be on board with the sacrifice that
They're going to be
you're gonna have to make.
sacrificing too. It may,
Yeah.
it may be no income the first year. It may be no vacations that first year, or there's going to be a shift in lifestyle. So absolutely, they have to know they have to set. This is the expectation, but the goal is to, go on more vacations, retire early, spend more time with the family. So I think if you set the expectation, they're on board then. But ultimately, everyone has to be on board, or it's going to be a rocky road.
I got a question. What's this trend or thing that I feel like I've been seeing, which is people that are looking at buying a franchise business with an expectation of like they have to make this, crazy profit their first year, which by the way, to me, crazy profit is anything that's like, a good amount of money. Like you're trying to replace
Right.
your salary or something in the first year. I've never really seen businesses usually do that. So what are you guys seeing where people come with those expectations? Has something changed in the kind of economy or the generation? Like, what is that kind of driving?
I think people expect the immediate return, right? They want to go viral in the first post on social media. So I think that's where it's coming from. I always tell people that first year it's a learning curve. You've never owned a business, you've never hired people, so this is all new. You're learning something new. But to be matching the income you were making immediately, you're building something. So to have that expectation, I always take a step back and say, realistically, any profit. So even if there is that kind of profit, you want to reinvest in the right team, in the right systems, because this is not a business that you hope to grow 10% a year. This is something that's going to be growing exponentially. That's something I've experienced in my business, and I always, my first year, reinvested everything back. I didn't take a dime out, but I also set reserves aside for that. So I think it's this instant gratification. I have to make money right away, and it's okay if you don't match your salary the first year. You should really be investing in those systems, or else you're starving the business. You're pulling too much out. You're not hiring the right people, or not paying them what they're owed, and you're not investing in the technology as well.
Yeah, but people say that, but they're still taking a salary, and they're saying the business isn't profitable, and
they're pulling their salary and
they're
they're
pulling
and
their
they're
salary. So I mean, I think it just depends. Some people can hit the ground running, and some people don't. There's hurdles that you can't predict. No one has a crystal ball.
Right.
Like COVID happened, people that own certain businesses were affected, and other people. Like you were selling masks, you killed it, or
Right.
gloves, or whatever, right?
Right.
So it just depends. I think you can make money year one. We've done it before, and it's doable, but
It's more
I
of what
don't
you
know.
do with that money. So even if you
Yeah.
make the money, you don't have to pull it out. You
Right.
can, reinvest. I think you should be reinvesting as much as you can to build that base so that, the money's not made the first few years. The money's made later, and in many cases, money's made on the exit.
It's interesting. Like, yeah, right. People forget about the enterprise value
Right.
that they built in a
Right.
business. I was talking to a business owner that, had started building a business. Their first year did well, but didn't make money. They lost money.
Right.
But they were building the bones of the business.
Mhm.
And in their regular job, they made a substantial amount of money. And what you have to remember is like, I can't give tax advice, but when you lose money in a business, but you have another income, Well, that loss is a net operating NOI, net operating loss.
Right.
And net operating loss. And it carries over into your taxes. And so if you're making a bunch of money in one place, well, now you're losing money, if you will, as far as your other business, but you're building a business, you're building an asset. You're mitigating tax exposure. And then the next year, when you do build the business further, and let's say you do start to make a profit, which by the way, most business owners, they want to try to have
Sure.
a big profit. But when they do start to have a profit, you're going to be able to get a multiple on that profit, whatever multiple down the road. And so you have to think of it as like enterprise value of what you're building. But I think that the number one mistake business owners make is they start to succeed and then they go buy the boat or they go get the new
Right.
car. And it's like, no, you should, like you said, reinvest the money into your business for a while.
Building value takes time and the right mindset. What is the crucial difference between a worker mindset and an owner mindset? And how does the if the business works fallacy sabotage franchise success before it even starts?
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn how to make the transition from corporate to owning your franchise, join Giuseppe on the next episode. You can also follow on all social media platforms and achieve financial and time freedom today.